Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today, we're joining you from an elf protest rally at the North Pole, where they are demanding the conveyor belt on the assembly line be sped up, shorter coffee breaks, and that the sugar content in their candy canes be increased by 300%.
I think they should also demand that the reindeers not be allowed to roam the factory floors.
Yeah, the cleanup. Talk about cleanup on aisle 5, but
I was thinking more along the idea of, Rudolph picking a fight with some of the lower elves.
Yeah, these guys are getting out of control, but I mean, they are workaholics. I'll give them credit for that.
I mean, I can't say anything. I'm pro-union. I'm with these guys.
I mean, they're demanding to work harder and get amped up on sugar. They're a unique.
All I got to say is there's a lot of light, powdery white substances up here, and I'm just going to leave it alone.
Hey.
Ho, ho, ho.
See, now you just got me thinking about Cocaine Bear, Allan.
Oh,
Thanks a lot.
Well, I had to work the bear in here somewhere.
All right, anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And Brandon already seems to be triggered. We haven't even set the table yet.
No. I want to talk about something real quick, and it's just. All right, this past year, you know how I am about spooky season. I don't really want to invoke that again, but they had added something new to the Haunted Web called Rudolph's Revenge.
Yes.
And you get through one segment, and you go in, and there's like all the cold air, and there's like snow on the ground and everything. It looks like a winter wonderland, but the reindeer have taken out, and there's zombie elves. And man, I think that workshop had better conditions than this one does.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Santa may have something to say about that.
I also have Stocking Monster and Domino Sugar. So getting these things for these guys, that'll help.
Okay. Well, hey, so there's a lot of weirdness out there. In fact, we're probably going to have to at least weigh in on some of what's going on out there. I'm looking here at Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Whatever. I'm not a big fan, but I know you guys are.
Looking forward
so,
to it.
Yeah.
It's entertainment.
It's a final chapter in a trilogy that you haven't really cared much about. So me and Allan will probably spearhead that one.
Mm-hmm.
But have you watched the Guardians holiday special?
No,
so
couldn't bring
cute.
myself to do it.
Oh,
So.
well,
you
I'll do it at some point.
I was going to say,
it's
duty.
your level of humor.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think they're funny.
No,
honestly, I think they try too hard. All right. Well, whatever. Let's save that.
The mission is a Joe humor joke.
We're in full holiday, mode. It's going to be a great end of the year.
Okay, so we'll do that. So among the ones that we'll probably chime in on are that 90s show, which could be great or it could be an abomination, because I mean the 70s show is a classic.
Well, I mean, let's be completely honest, Joe. That basically sets up the various seasons of that 70s show. They were either really, really good or a whole season of abominations.
The later ones, I won't argue with you on that. But
season 3 too. But the writers just seemed off. Anyway, I love that show.
Alan, I think, has a science story. I think we're going to chime in. There's a few properties that we'll weigh in on, and I don't want to list them all because a bunch of trailers dropped. There was a trailer dump.
Oh, yeah.
And I use that word advisedly. But so we'll probably weigh in on some of those. And Alan has got some science that we're going to discuss coming up. But before we get to any of that, I do have to at least mention this trailer that I saw that I feel like is I don't know. It's one of these. This could either be a comedy or it could be a horror fest, or it looks all around bad, and that's the mean one. It's basically
it has the word parody in the name of the movie.
That's the problem, though. I think the problem is when you tell somebody something is a parody, you undercut its effectiveness. But it's like a horror movie of the Grinch.
I was gonna say I don't agree with you on your thoughts on parody, but that's basically making sure that they can take a story that isn't quite in the public domain yet and get fair use out of it.
Oh, so this is public domain? I thought Dr. Seuss was better with his copyright stuff than...
No. I said it's close enough to... Oh. That's why they have to parody it and not just do straight up the Grinch. If you notice that trailer, anytime they got close to saying that word, something happened and nobody said it.
Yeah, but he looks just like him.
Right.
I mean,
well, yeah.
What's your point?
As a matter of fact, it's probably the costume from a movie starring some James somebody.
I would almost guarantee you that Jim Carrey sold them that costume.
Well, what did you guys think? I thought it was ridiculous, and I didn't even think it was.
All right. Well, we had
clever,
Pooh and
to be
Piglet.
honest.
We've had, Was it Silence of the Lambs became Silence of the Hams?
Well, I mean, let's just
parody.
Let's not even worry about bringing about any of the other ones. Let's just talk this straight up. You've got a guy breaking into people's houses to steal all their Christmas stuff. It was only a matter of time before somebody tried to stop him, and he took a cleaver to them.
Is that what he's doing?
But what's happening here is they refer to it as the Christmas killings, and they even make a mention in the trailer, or they allude to the fact that during the Christmas killings, nobody actually died in the original one. But he was known as the Christmas Killer. He's just Cindy Lou Who is back. I know they've changed her name, but she's come back to Newville, which instead of Newville.
Oh, that's what they're calling it.
In order to, face her fears, which we've seen this in like Silent Night, where someone's like, all right, this happened all these years ago, and now it's a resurgence. This is basically Silent Night meets How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I don't know. Are you guys going to go see this? I mean, this isn't going to be in theaters, is it?
It's being released in theaters.
Willy Wonka Land we're going to go see this.
Well, this will be something we watch. We are very, very interested in seeing just how goofily this plays out.
I want to watch him dance the line. That's going to be the fun part.
I'm going to say it again. It's no Cocaine Bear, but I will see it.
No, I can't wait for the Cocaine Bear either.
Oh, well, you teased it. What is the Cocaine Bear? We've heard that.
So the Cocaine Bear is loosely based off of a true story. Back in the 80s, a corrupt cop whose Cessna was failing him jumps out of his plane with 80 pounds of cocaine in the Georgia forest.
Gosh.
His chute fails. He dies. A bear eats the cocaine, has a massive overdose, and dies as well. They find the bear, and of course it became a giant legend, and the bear itself is actually in a store in Kentucky. It's taxidermied and everything.
Jeez, poor guy. Okay.
Well, the movie now takes place in Knoxville, Tennessee, 1985. Some guys dump some coke into the woods. The bear eats it, and instead of having a massive overdose, he goes on a full-on bender.
It's funny.
There's a lot of rage.
If you made that premise and you put it out there, you would never guess it's based on a true story, but it's interesting that it is. So
truth will always be stranger than fiction. Too.
Okay, well
Ray Liotta's last film.
We can't promise there's going to be a lot of truth coming up, but when we come back, we're going to talk science with Allan. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we're probably going to be hopscotching around some topics today, especially some of the new movies or shows that are coming out, at least weighing in, because they're sort of a mixed bag. And I'm not going to say what's in the bag, but anyway.
I will.
But let's keep things on track, because it behooves us to talk about science.
Hail science!
I guess it does. I hope this is a good story, Alan.
I don't Sometimes know. I'm going to amuse Brandon anyway.
I'm going to enjoy this.
Because I'm going to look at you and say, Joe, have you ever heard of Toxoplasma Gondii?
No, but that is the new name for my band.
Is it headed by Gandhi?
I have to ask what genre of music that fits with, Joe, because is it Norwegian death metal?
Sounds like it would work for anything.
Or is it Gandhi?
Yeah.
Well, Toxoplasma actually infects about a third of the world's population at any given moment.
Ooh. Does that explain Twitter and everything else going on out there?
Well,
I can almost guarantee you Joe has it.
Yeah.
Well, if you've got a cat, you probably do, because it's cat scratch fever.
Honestly, I don't know what cat scratch fever is.
Cat scratch fever is what happens when your kitty comes out of the cat box and a little later scratches you, and suddenly you have a fever and you're getting a cold. Well, you have been infected by toxoplasmosis.
Oh, so it's a bad thing.
Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, because in a recent study of wolves, I know we're going to just go all over the place with this, one of the big things they discovered was most of the alpha wolves, the guys who struck out on their own and are making good with their little canine careers, all had toxoplasmosis.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening. We were just talking about the cocaine bear.
It kind of like, if you got toxoplasmosis,
Peter's going to totally protest by these elves.
Strike out on your own and be self-employed. And as I'm looking at Joe,
This sounds like when I get my Diet Coke in the morning and I feel like a new man after I've got my caffeine blast. Is there something like that?
Well, there might be
Alan,
along
we got
that
8
line
minutes. Get to
because
it.
if you're a rat and you get toxoplasmosis, you lose your fear of cats. And you have a tendency to be bolder and be out in the daylight because the only place toxoplasmosis can reproduce itself is in the gut of a cat.
Okay, go ahead. I'm getting confused. Other than, go ahead.
All I see at this point is the crazy cat lady from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And the fact that she can't be
explains a lot.
stopped.
We're
That's true,
pointing
she
out
is.
that, one of these staples of sci-fi is that weird space parasite, or I'm thinking like a couple of Star Trek episodes that takes over the human mind and changes your behavior.
Yeah, those little things they stuck in their ears at Star Trek 2.
Or the little thing on the back of their head, or the little thing on the
So there's a chemical. There is such a thing. I mean, I guess we have to believe this anyway. I didn't know it was so pronounced.
Wow.
That.
Well,
I think
just kind
that
of
it changes
pointing
your
out
behavior.
that is it cause and effect? Is it a random coincidence? But we do know that certain organisms can change your behavior.
I think I understand Laura's Halloween costumes now. Have you noticed that since she got Roger a few years back, she constantly posts pictures of her costumes that's always built around her cat?
Yeah, our friend Laura Johnson in Chicago, she you talk about a crazy cat lady. She's dived in. So
Well, she's only got
You're
the
saying
one.
she's got toxoplasmosis going on, so.
There's just pretty good chance that, if you've got a cat, you've got these little critters living inside you. And just judging from studying other animals, this does seem to change their behavior. It makes them a little more aggressive.
Now, when the cat scratches you, does it have to be something that where it bleeds, or can it just be a literal scratch?
It's anything that will create what we call an injection point. So
gets
it
in your
doesn't have to be
bloodstream.
large enough to bleed, but it has to get under your skin and into your system.
Does this explain the ancient Egyptians with their reverence for cats and everything? Were cats running the show through toxoplasmosis?
Well,
were they?
I'm not saying they were, but I'm just saying that.
I don't know, but I think you could apply for a grant right now, Joe, and we could totally
study that.
check this out.
Yeah, when are we going to get our grant? That's the study.
That right there is a $2 million grant, easy. We'll study it. We'll hang out with kitties all day long.
We'll hang out with putty tats and see if so.
But you're saying it lives inside their stomach. So, I mean,
All right, and a cat.
in a cat. So I'm just saying.
And the rest
so,
of us, it has a tendency to wander around up to the brain.
I don't want to get too graphic because some people may be eating their breakfast on the, but let me ask you this. Okay, can they, instead of when your cat coughs up a hairball, is it time to save this thing, take it to the research lab and pull out all the enzymes so you could, is Putin going to weaponize this? Is he going to turn this into a mind control?
I think
which is something we can do with the grant money.
I think
Right.
Catwoman has already taken care of all of this. I don't think we need to go to Putin for this.
Okay.
This is, cute little Fluffy on the shelf may have already weaponized this thousands and thousands of years ago.
These are animals who have trained us to scoop their litter.
Huh.
They already have us pretty well trained. I'm reading this article and I'm going, well, this kind of covers the whole crazy cat lady thing, because if your brain's been adopted to really love cats, well, you're going to have a lot of cats. They even had a case where they were studying chimpanzees and they were becoming attracted to the smell of leopard urine.
I was about to ask.
Which is bad because leopards eat chimpanzees.
Does toxoplasmosis take part in all cats, like a lion and a tiger?
Yep.
So it's even more
It's a putty tap.
amped up.
Yeah.
Maybe that
Leopards-
explains why these antelopes are too dumb to get out of the way when the lion's coming at them or something, right?
I don't want to be
It's
the
got
part
them
of that.
hypnotized.
I don't want to be a part of that research group.
Well, all right, why would a hyena suddenly decide it wants to take on a lion?
Yeah.
It don't look
This
like a
does
fair
explain
fight from
stuff.
from the outside.
Hyenas are crazy. Let's just be honest.
Just pointing out that they found some interesting effects of this stuff in the brains of mammals.
How long ago was this? Is this a newer research?
This is some pretty new research that's been ongoing for a little while, but Yeah, it's not.
Wow.
This really explains this opens a lot of conversation because this explains Angela from The Office,
Yep.
the cat lady. This explains her behavior. I mean, this is going to have to be
Just
an
saying,
ongoing.
it's a possibility.
Yeah.
If only our play out music for this segment was Cat Scratch Fever.
Danny Bruns, you heard the request, but okay. Well, toxoplasmosis. We'll be keeping an eye on it. Anyway, you guys, when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio, it is going to be a mixed bag, and we promise nothing. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmsted and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And, some trailers dropped. We're in the middle of, new material coming out.
An Elf Union.
An Elf Union. Yeah,
Did you
everything.
see that one get caught in the conveyor belt earlier? And they want it faster?
They're workaholics, man. They try to get the job done. So, but hey, you guys, in no particular order, we thought why not just weigh in on some of the new material we saw. And if you don't mind, I figure let's kick it off with one that I feel like we've all revered the '70s show. I know I watch it. My kids loved it and everything. The later seasons kind of petered out, but it is a classic show. And now they're revising it with the '90s show. And honestly, the trailer came out. I'll let you guys give your opinion first, but before I throw anything under the bus.
I'm going to be completely honest. It doesn't seem any different, except for
Looked at it and went, okay.
It looks
Really?
it looks like it's got a bigger budget. It's the same dumb stoner jokes.
Yep.
It's the same dumb teenager jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And as per usual, as it was with the original That 70s Show, Red and Kitty are the only reason to watch it.
Well, okay, first of all, what's the actress that plays Kitty?
Mary Jo Rupp.
Because whatever Mary Jo is drinking, we need. I mean, she is not aged a day. Literally, she looks the same.
It's
doesn't she?
toxoplasmosis.
So good for her. Kurtwood Smith
you're-
doesn't look bad either, but he looks a little older.
But you're
Red
absolutely
Foreman.
right, Joe, because, I mean, she looks exactly like she did in, That 70s Show. But I also will say that she looks exactly like she did when she was on Friends years ago, when she was being the mother to or her and Phoebe's brother were trying to have a baby, and
Right.
Phoebe was their incubator or whatever. I didn't watch Friends; I just know she was there.
She was great on Seinfeld when she played Jerry's handler, and she was like the micromanaging, sort of irritating. She was great there.
But she's always looked the same.
Yeah. So good for her. But here's my thing. Okay, so
they
the
just
70s
get to make 90s jokes now.
And let's just be honest, Joe.
there's plenty to laugh about.
That might mess with you because '90s kids are obnoxious.
Well, I was an '80s kid, thank you.
I know.
I mean, by the time I was in the that was my question for you guys. The '90s culture is much different than '70s culture.
Right.
Is this shtick gonna work?
The biggest staple there is marijuana.
Well, it's gonna be.
Let's just say
Are they going to be in the circle in the basement?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, got to.
I mean, because the coked out '80s doesn't translate good to a TV show.
No.
Yeah.
But
that circle will be a different ball game. Yeah.
But the '90s kids, and I mean this with all respect to the kids who lived through the '90s. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm looking at you guys. You were millennials. It's all good. But we a lot of the same humor, a lot of the same fashion was coming back in the '90s that could be used in the '70s. So they can just really reuse everything. But we do know that they find a stash in the basement, and as we learned from other informative documentary shows, weed doesn't necessarily go bad.
It doesn't expire.
It doesn't expire.
Here's an observation, and Allan and I are a little older than you, Brandon. So,
Yeah.
and you can. I'm just going to preemptively say you can send your hate mail to geektankradio.com. But here's just my observation. The '70s had a very distinct feel. The '80s had a very distinct feel. Like you knew you were in the '80s. I felt like the '90s had sort of a blending. There was a lot of after. It felt a lot like the '80s to me. The '90s
hair.
did.
It
Didn't have its own distinct
I'm gonna
vibe that I feel
I'm
like
gonna-
the '80s and '70s had.
I'm gonna get blasted
Go
because
ahead.
I was in high school. I graduated in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
The '90s was a boring decade
I mean,
as far as what
I would
people
call it
got
boring,
into.
but I didn't.
No,
I
no,
don't-
I will. I
Yeah,
will.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Maybe boring is the wrong word. Maybe the word I'm looking for is lazy.
Okay.
Because you're right, the fashion sense, the music styles, everything else was borrowed from the previous 3 decades.
That's what it felt like.
Well,
to me.
you're getting a lot of
like
20-year ago worship
You're-
in the 90s.
And the thing is that you were gearing up for the millennium, and you were basically just picking and choosing from the former decades to see what you were going out with.
Now, what did happen that didn't happen previous, the 90s brought about the institutionalization of computers and VCRs and all kinds of gadgets and gizmos that, quite frankly, your parents may have not been the most astute at using. They went and bought them. But the fact that
They
VCR
collected dust
blinked
in the
12 for 7 years was, not lost on people.
Hey, Brandon, I got a new VCR. Can you come program it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing. Is like
That was
programming
a lot
new
of it.
electronics for parents and grandparents.
And of course, then you're going to get into the megalith.
That's going to be a
shopping
joke.
things. The theaters changed. There were a lot of changes in the 90s. Not necessarily a style, but there was a lot of tech was happening.
Well, here's the dynamic in the 70s show, too. Okay, so you had a bunch of hippies, a bunch of unwashed jerks in bell-bottom pants, as far as Red Foreman saw it, versus a guy that fought in the Korean War. Or some of your parents in the 70s would have fought in World War II.
Right.
The clash between that generation and the 70s generation was profound, which makes it easier to spoof and play off of. The 90s, I'm like, okay, well, your parents listened to rock and roll. And
but you're not
there's not
dealing,
that conflict.
But that's the thing. You're not dealing with the parents of these kids. You're dealing with the 90s kids, the grandchild of Red and Kitty Foreman, who has been sent to live with him. And I know it didn't show up in the trailer, but it's in the description of the show, because she's in trouble.
I don't know.
So Eric and Donna have sent her to live with her grandparents for the summer.
Where do you think Bob is next door? Like, I'm just picturing what he looks like.
Did you not finish the show?
No, I didn't even know the show's
in that
on yet.
in that 70s show, Bob moves to Florida at the end.
Okay.
He went to open a bait and tackle shop, and originally Red was going to go with him, but Kitty didn't want to leave.
Oh, that's right. By the end season, it was kind of.
I know the last season was bad.
Yeah,
it was just bad. Yeah. But you gotta see it through. I mean, I watched the last 4 seasons of Dexter.
I'm gonna enjoy
I can sit through anything.
the technological gulf between Red and Kitty and the new bunch of kitties.
Yeah, that's going to be a situation.
Plus, the 70s show was sort of lightning in a bottle. I think the characters were great. I love seeing Red. I liked how Red and what's his name? Who's the curly haired guy? Hyde. They sort of had a similar dynamic. They were both, and I liked when he would, insult Eric and all that. I don't know. And what is it? Michael and what's her?
Kelso, and Jackie, and Donna,
I don't know.
and all that.
We'll see. They have. I wouldn't want to step into
For someone
that
who
show.
revered the show, you know nothing about it.
I just forget names. Anyway, we're gonna weigh in on some more stuff coming up here on Geek Tank Radio. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass, who's been remarkably quiet. I don't know, maybe he doesn't care about any of the content that's coming out either.
I've been helping with the Elf Labor Union.
Okay, he's trying to quell the storm over there. But you guys, I was looking at my list of things. Basically we've been sort of chiming in because there's a lot of new trailers that have come out, and I don't want to sound like a total hater because all I've done is rip on the mean one, and I'm not all that excited about Guardians of the Galaxy. I know you guys love that in the 90s show. Could I at least just mention one? We don't have to have a long discussion, but the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania movie does intrigue me.
Right.
Mostly because I know nothing about the quantum realm in terms of basically it's like infinite smallness, right? And there's a whole world going on.
All I'm going to say is if I see the Micronauts in this, I'm going to be excited, even if it's just an Easter egg. But I'm ready to watch Kang just go full out because this is this is the one that gears up. We know the next Avengers movie is called the Kang Dynasty.
Yes.
We met Kang at the end of the Loki season 1.
Right.
He was the guy who, at the end of time, what did they call him? The one who remains or whatever.
Yeah,
the very boring talky guy. Well, you're going to see the.
He talked too much in that show.
You're about to meet the one he warned you about. You're going to meet Kang the Conqueror.
Oh, so that guy wasn't him? He was just.
He's one of the variants.
Okay, so he's okay. I got
He,
you.
as much as he was bad and the TVA was bad, he was protecting you from something worse.
Well, the notion that there's, I mean, because like they said in Ant-Man and the Wasp, when you just keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and down to, well, the notion that there's almost a universe at that level is sort of interesting. I just wonder how that, and it kind of ties in with what Allan was saying about toxoplasmosis, where maybe they're running the whole show down there.
It's a
in the
possibility.
quantum realm. So anyway, but I guess you guys talked about Guardians of the Galaxy, and I guess they've dropped the trailer, but then they also had the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which I haven't watched yet. But I know
Kevin
you guys
Bacon.
are fans, and I don't want to be a hater because I don't find Guardians of the Galaxy interesting. But
Which is hilarious because the humor they use is the same stuff you use on us here.
see, I think their humor is forced and not nearly as sophisticated as what we do here.
I don't think King of the Hill's. I don't think King of the Hill's funny either. But I grew up. there.
I hate King of the Hill too.
I was fixing to say you just described.
But anyway, what do you
All right,
guys should
so
weigh in?
I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Guardians of the Galaxy, and as much as it is an into an era, we see the Guardians have finally become the characters that they've been in the comics. I mean, they're uniformed. They're actually out there trying to do good things. Drax, of course, hits a kid in the face with a basketball, which is a dumb idea. But it's about where you came from. It's going to be one of those emotional heartstring pulling things with Rocket. I mean, and this is going to be the last outing for a lot of these guys. So there's a good chunk that most of them aren't coming out of this on the other side.
And Groot's no longer a teenager, right?
No, well, he's like in his
Groot
early.
2's kind of buff.
He's
man.
like kind of in his. I would say he's like in his early 20s. He's he's that arrogant kid that always wants to come and work with us at the con and tell us how to do things and all that jazz.
I don't know what kind of fertilizer he's been using either, but he's.
I don't know, but he's ripped.
Yeah.
But that's honestly not the one that's got me going.
Okay.
That's not the. I mean, we get the High Evolutionary. That's going to kick off the mutant stuff. It's all good. I'm more excited about the Dial of Destiny, and it looks like a complete and utter train wreck. But I'm one of those guys who, when it comes to an Indiana Jones movie, just like with Star Wars, I can just stop and enjoy the ride. I don't need anything super serious. But I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait. Where did Gamora come from? She thought she got killed.
Did you not watch Endgame?
Yeah.
That's a Gamora from a different point in the timeline who has been stuck in our timeline.
Oh, that's convenient, isn't it? I mean,
It's a
I
comic
thought that
book.
was a sacrifice. I thought was she at the end of?
She
Maybe I missed that
she
segment.
goes off on her own at the end of Endgame. She goes to find her place in the world.
How did I miss that? I thought that
Because you were crying about Tony Stark, like 90% of the other people out there.
Okay, anyway.
I was too busy worrying that the girl next to me in the theater was going to die of dehydration because she'd been crying for 3 hours.
Well, nobody in Marvel ever really dies anyway. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But the Gamora that you're meeting is a Gamora from back when she was with Thanos. She is trying to find her place in the world. And she's going to gravitate back towards, the Guardians.
Allan, you're the only one that actually bought Guardians of the Galaxy comic books back in the day. I never even heard of them till the movies. But
What's bad is
nothing like this movie.
What's bad is if Joe had been a fan of those, he'd hate this even more because there's no Vance Astro.
I know.
Because Vance Astro is the future version of Captain America. You would love that character.
Huh.
You really would.
They had one episode that stuck out of my mind in the comic book in which they went back to a civilization roughly based on late 70s Earth culture, but with mixed races. And it was absolutely a stitch. I mean, the usual comic book
that
adventure.
was kind of a twist.
But
I like
it-
that
but-
part. Yeah.
But it shows you that, hey, we could get along if you guys would just stop being jerks.
Yeah.
When they're trying to get the guy to take off the that metal shiny suit and be chilled and groovy and no, lady, I'll turn into dust. I'm just not ready for that kind of yoga. So
That's coming out when in this summer?
Yeah,
Or-
all of these things are hitting next summer.
now I do have to say I am looking forward to see the newly young again, old again, young again, old again, young again, old again indie.
Yeah.
because it's all the same guy. They're just digitally flipping him back and
Yeah,
forth.
they-
Now, I will
there's-
say that Indiana Jones 5, the trailer came out, and I couldn't have cared less until I saw the de-aging where I'm like, oh, so we're going to play around and make
Yeah.
him younger. I'm
So-
like, okay, that could be
Yeah,
pretty good.
We
That
get
might
to
be
see
neat.
we get to see some adventures of Indies that we may have missed. There's a lot of storyline that takes place before Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but the moment that I hear John Rhys Davies,
Yes.
doing the narration at the beginning, and as soon as I see Sala in full form, I'm
Yes.
like going, yes, I'm there.
If it can be done well, I'd be on board for that. Even though I hate, just where money grabs, but I feel like this,
Nah, this
they're
feels
approaching
more
it
like
a little
fun.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Ford wouldn't have done it if it wasn't something he felt was a good
believed in,
story,
yeah.
an actual send off.
he likes money as much as the next guy, though. I mean, doesn't he?
No,
No,
no, because they
but-
offered him they were going to offer him a butt ton of money to be a star of the new Star Wars trilogy, and goes, no, I want to be killed off in the first one.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That's another. Thanks
He-
for opening that wound.
He
Joe.
wanted to get killed in Empire.
All right. Gosh. Okay. Well, guys, hey, whatever. We always weigh in on the latest things coming out here on Geek Tank Radio, but it's time to get out of here. We're out of time. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Allan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
And I'm Brandon Olmsted, reminding you to check in with us next week when we hit you with our gift giving guide.
Mm-hmm.